handle our careers effectively in today's changing environment, we're going to have to learn a whole new set of skills that we can't learn in school. And for want of a better word, I call those jobsmanship skills. And they're rather like salesmanship or entrepreneurship. It's what is my product, where is my market, how can I market myself, and how can I make money doing it. In the last 50 years, we have encountered more rapid change than any previous 1,000-year time span. We have moved from the industrial machine age, focusing on muscles and structure, to the information era, emphasizing mind, brain power, and flexibility. We are currently suspended in a twilight between these two ages, neither here nor there, with one foot on the Mayflower and the other on a rocket ship headed for outer space. This collapse of time, moving so rapidly from the old to the new, has created much chaos and disorder in our work lives. As a result, millions of Americans are in career shock, a very painful splinter of future shock. There's a great gap between our earlier career expectations and our current career reality. To thrive in today's work world, we must be able to change rapidly. The problem is, we were taught to value stability and the status quo. For career success, we can no longer be a typical driven type A or laid-back type B. The personality for the future is the type CC, the chaos chaser, seeking challenge and control in our complex world, demonstrating creativity, competency, common sense, curiosity, and commitment to their work. This kind of identity change is extremely difficult for adults. We only change when our pain is greater than our fear of change. In my book, The Career Chase, I discuss the dozen deadly myths defeating contemporary careers. The major one is that one life equals one career. The reality is that the college students today will hold 10 to 15 jobs in at least 3 to 5 different career fields. Another destructive career myth is that there's an automatic system that will guide our careers. This is wishful thinking, perhaps on the level of waiting for the tooth fairy's visit. The reality is that giving up the direct control of your career is playing Russian roulette with your life. Believe this, if you aren't in charge of your career, no one is. To plan your career, you must first know yourself. Understand what you do best and what you will value doing. Second, you must know the realities of the work world and have a broad understanding of what is available. In this program, we will introduce you to the self-directed search, which is a practical, workable, affordable system for identifying your dominant personality traits and matching your personality with the appropriate career.
John Holland and his theory and the tools and devices that he developed in support of the theory has probably had the most profound effect on me as a counselor, and I suspect a similar profound effect on all career counselors in the nation of almost any other theory that's currently in use.
Widely regarded as the standard in career interest inventories, the SDS and its many formats has been used by 21 million individuals worldwide and translated into more than 20 languages. Let me introduce you to Dr. John Hollen, who has spent 30 years developing a system for matching personalities and careers. Before Dr. Hollen introduced his theory, career counselors had relied on a confusing array of uncoordinated psychological theory, vocational listings, and counseling techniques. Dr. Hollen brought simplicity and practicality to the field. We visited Dr. Hollen in his Baltimore home where he continues his research. He talks with his colleague, Dr. Jack Raymond.
In summary then, what you really did is develop a simplified way of understanding the world of work, and likewise a simplified and explicit way of understanding personality characteristics, and then a linkage between the two. Is that right?
All counselors, industrial psychologists were doing this. What I've done is provide an explicit way of doing it. See, the other had to be an artistic process. You had to do an artistic job of figuring out what's this person like, filled with a lot of work and time, an artistic process about what kind of jobs, and then an artistic linkage, whereas the thing that makes this scheme different is that the linkages are all not only logical and rational, but they're also tested. Because we've researched what it means to be a realistic person or investigative person or a person with certain kinds of code combinations, we can interpret what this means, you see, what kind of person, and link what the person is like to other kinds of information that the counselor or the person has about themselves.
It sounds to me like your theory was really an attempt to sort of make order out of this sort of chaos that existed at that time.
Right. I think chaos is perhaps a little strong. It was a complex, difficult, very time-consuming, expensive job. And it was because counselors and people who worked in that area and proposed theories proposed things that were so complex that they didn't simplify the problem. That's what theory is all about. Theory is just a tool. And this theory's strength lies in its ability to structure information about people and to structure or organize information about jobs and put it together. The theory really organizes information in three ways. One, it organizes the information about people into 6 main categories, and it uses those same categories to organize occupations. And because you've used the same categories to organize information about people and about jobs, you can go from people's character or a person's characteristics to job characteristics, so that you get into this is what the counselor is doing, but now it's made very simple, straightforward, and quick.
I take it then that research has been supportive of the reliability and the validity of the theory.
Oh, very much so, and somewhat to my surprise at times too. It's been very supportive, not only in the United States but in foreign countries, something I'd never expected.
It seems to me that personalities are so complex. I mean, how can they really be classified?
I had the same reaction a long time ago. And over a period of time, I discovered that, well, there are some simple things you could do. And the research that I was not doing, but other people had done, indicated that personality could be organized in probably about 5 main categories. I was trained as an undergraduate to believe that personalities are almost infinitely complex and you couldn't classify them. But a number of experiences led to my thinking what might be possible. First of all, I had this military experience in which I had to interview probably up to 3,000 men and fill out a form about their work history, their occupation, their hobbies, and what have you. And I noticed after a while you could predict what they were going to say. Then I finally was filling out the form faster than they could give the answers.
Through your research then, what you've really done is establish the linkages between personality characteristics and the world of work. What are the implications of those linkages then for the counselor and for someone who's trying to make a career decision?
Well, the main implication is that If the person knows what type they resemble the most, then they can find the occupations that presumably would be compatible for them. The next thing I did was to develop the self-directed search. The self-directed search is a pair of booklets. One is an assessment booklet, which assesses or measures or estimates your resemblance to each of the 6 types or categories in this theory. And it has another booklet, the Occupations Finder, which organizes more than 1,000 occupations into the same 6 categories.
In summary then, if we have a personality type that is working in the appropriate work environment, in other words, there is congruence between the two, I suppose the implications of that are then that an individual is more likely to be successful and satisfied and have a more stable career pattern.
Yes, we have some evidence that satisfaction is related to congruence or working in an occupation that is congruent with or very similar to the kind of person you are.
Dr. Holland in 1994 was recipient of the American Psychological Association's Award for Distinguished Professional Contributions to Knowledge.
Perhaps the most inviting thing about the Holland theory is the elegance of its simplicity. It really is a two-level theory. On the one hand, Holland developed a way of describing and identifying certain aspects of the work environment. On the other hand, he developed a means of classifying different personality types. First, let's look at the different personality types. He determined that from among all the different personality types that exist, they could be classified, roughly speaking, into 6 pure types. He labeled them realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. Let's look first at the realistic type personality. According to Holland, a realistic type personality is the type of an individual who likes to work with his or her hands. They prefer to work out of doors. They like working with tangible kinds of things. Some of the values that they hold are they like freedom. They're fairly self-controlled. An example of someone realistic might be an engineer, an automobile mechanic, a farmer, a landscape architect. Moving around the hexagon then, the next type is the investigative type. And the personality characteristics of investigative people are that they like to ask the why questions. Why do things work the way that they do? They're very interested in what causes things to work the way they do and the very difficult problems that confront society. Typical of these people might be chemists, physicists, researchers of various sorts. Moving then to the next category, the artistic personality type is often characterized as being nonconforming, imaginative, intuitive, sensitive, and creative. Indeed, a big component part of what they do for a living has to do with creativity. Some typical occupational groups that artistic people might work in might be editing, writing, various types of performance, including musical, theatrical, and so forth. The next category then, moving around the hexagon, would be social. Social types of individuals tend to be friendly, agreeable, understanding, and relatively extroverted. One of the most important things they seek in relationships with other people is a helping sort of a relationship. The relationship that they have is very much a helping kind of a relationship. Some typical occupational groups might be social worker, teacher, counselor, and so forth. The next move around the hexagon brings us to the enterprising type of individual. The enterprising individual is similar to the social type personality in that there's a lot of emphasis on interactions with other people. The principal difference is the nature of that relationship. In the case of an enterprising individual, that relationship tends to be a little bit more managing. Some people might say manipulative or even exploitative. The point is, these people become engaged with or involved with other people in an attempt to get other people to do things for the betterment of society or for themselves in some way. Examples of occupational groups of people that might be considered to be enterprising are sales personnel, politicians, administrators, and managers. The final stop on the hexagon, then, is a conventional type of personality. The conventional people are the sort of place for everything and everything in its place kinds of individuals. Typical occupational groups might be secretaries, accountants, people who spend a lot of their time accounting for things and making sure that things are carefully pigeonholed and put in the right places.
After developing a system for assessing personality types, Dr. Holland then used the same system to label work environments. Once you establish your dominant personality code, you can then match yourself to a range of compatible jobs. The 12,000 occupations listed in the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, published by the Department of Labor, are now translated into the Holland Code. Taking the self-directed search is a systematic first step in your career development. I would like you to meet some of my clients who have made significant changes in their lives by understanding the importance of matching their personalities to their work environment. Julie was majoring in Spanish at a large university and confused about why she had totally lost interest in school. Her self-directed search code was CES, matching that of an accountant. She is currently working, studying business and accounting, and loves it. Larry is an example of an almost pure, realistic personality. Like a lot of American workers, he is facing the reality of declining opportunities for hands-on jobs.
When I was in Vietnam, I thought a lot about my future and what kind of a job that I could get when I got home. In my back of my mind, I kept thinking about the telephone company. I knew the telephone company would be a secure place to work and to retire from. And when I got home, I got lucky and I got a job with Western Electric. And it was a good job. I enjoyed everything about my job until the deregulation of the phone company, which after 15 years of service, I found myself without a job. It was really a shock, and it's really hard to get back into the job hunting market.
Lynn must sort through many undefined interests and make some hard choices.
I've had some really great jobs during my adult life. I have several college degrees, including a Ph.D. I always felt like I really knew where I was going, but it seemed that with a lot of the jobs that I had, that there was always something missing. And even though I was in jobs where I was well trained, I was a counselor for a while, I've done some teaching, some training, and some administration work, and even public relations, which I really liked. A lot of the jobs had all of those qualities, but it still seemed that something was just not quite there. And then after a period of time in a job, I would become somewhat dissatisfied with it and want to move on to something else. Well, what I found is that looking at my interests and my abilities and my skills is that I have what is called a high flat profile. It's somewhat atypical, and it shows that I have lots of interest in lots of different things. This may seem terrific on one hand, and I guess it is, except it really creates a problem in terms of career satisfaction. So it looks like that what I need to do is to find a job or find a career that offers a lot of different areas where I can pursue a lot of my interest and therefore manage my career better, or perhaps just use my leisure time a lot better in order to satisfy a lot of the interests.
Susan's code showed a very high C, but she is quite bright and ambitious and wanted to move to a more professional level within her occupational cluster.
I always considered myself professional and career-oriented, but I found myself as an administrative assistant to the chairman of the board of a company where I began to feel very stifled in my career. I was beginning to search for answers to where I should go next. And in studying my profile, I found that I do have the discipline of that type of career as a secretary and someone that can handle a lot of details. But also I found that I could go into a work area of systems analyst or banker or accountant.
Marvin's code is IAS, which closely fits careers relating to writing and teaching. The code for dentistry is ISR, with probably a very low A needed. This is important to Marvin. Actually, he has already published a book of poetry and has been president of the State Poetry Society.
I've been a dentist for 32 years. I like what I do and I'm good at it. I've had a very successful practice, yet I've found that it's not as fulfilling as I'd hoped it would be. So I am thinking about retiring in the next few years. I've been looking for something where I could find the fulfillment that I've missed these years. So I've decided to retrain into another occupation, that of teaching and writing, so that when I do retire from dentistry, I can do that and be fulfilled.
Tom's code is IAS also, the same as Marvin's. He's an accountant. The code for an accountant, however, is CES, almost totally incongruent with Tom's personality. Tom's aspirations are to become a counselor.
I have a degree in accounting and became a certified public accountant and worked in that field for a number of years, and it never quite fit for me. I always felt like there was something missing, and I found out for me that was working with people and being involved in helping them solve their problems. I wanted to make more of a difference in people's lives, and I began to look towards other fields and discovered financial planning. I moved into that field, took up a new designation as a certified financial planner, and I've generally found that more, that fulfills my needs more. Over time, though, this industry's been fairly unstable, and at this juncture, I find myself looking again. I've gone through my profile and discovered that I really have a bent towards counseling and psychology, even an artistic bent. So my strategy now is to continue in the financial planning field and pursue informational interviews and find out exactly what it is I want to do.
Jean is an example of a young woman who early on decided that she should not go into a non-traditional career. She feared math courses like many young women. When the self-directed search affirmed engineering as a major career option for her, she faced the fear, took the risk, and totally changed careers.
When I was in high school, I took some tests that said that I should either be a mechanic or a minister, and that just didn't seem appropriate for a girl. So when I went to college, I majored in business, and I specialized in advertising, and I always wanted to work for an advertising agency. And when I finally got a job in an advertising agency and worked there for 3 years, I was truly miserable. I really wanted out. I was surrounded by artsy, zany people all the time, and it just didn't fit me. So I sought interest in other areas, and the tests I took showed that I should be in an area that was more realistic. And so I started my degree and master's in engineering, and I've been working on that, and I have done very well. When I was a business major, I was very mediocre, but as an engineer, I've been making a 4.0.
The self-directed search gave Marge the reassurance to pick up her earlier artistic interest and return to school.
After having been married for 29 years, my husband died very suddenly. I felt like I had been set adrift without an anchor. I lacked direction and vision as to what I might do with my life. I entered this program with the hopes of an evaluation that might direct me in a way that I might go. And I made the discovery that I was very artistically inclined. Now, earlier in my life, I had pursued a degree in voice, but marrying, I became a mother, a homemaker, and a wife. And so after my husband died, I felt like I was an extension of other people. I really didn't know who I was. Well, in considering that I needed to go back to school to get the credentials that I really had to have, I was quite frightened. It was a very, very fearful experience for me. But I went. Well, it has been one of the greatest things that could ever have happened to me.
These clients, with their diverse personalities and backgrounds, demonstrate the adaptability of Holland's code to a variety of environments and complex career problems. I use Holland's theory in my private practice, primarily with professional people. It's valuable for anyone, however, in career transition. You may be a college or high school student making your first career selection. You may be a young adult back on the college campus, back in the career center, reappraising your career after 4 or 5 years of experience. You could be thinking, if I don't do this the rest of my life, what else can I do? Government and nonprofit agencies use the self-directed search to assist people in entering the workforce. Initially, it may be necessary for you to take an entry-level position that doesn't match your personality. However, if you are alert to the opportunities in your organization and in the industry, you can expand your options and build toward your aspirations.
Well, the aspirations are in the SDS because the early research and all the recent research suggests it has great validity, and we've tied it into the SDS because we can classify these things, and we discover that people don't have a random set group of aspirations. They tend to be related, especially the last 2 or 3, the current one and the 1 or 2 just before that. And together with the SDS, the aspirations yield much more predictive validity. That is, they are better forecasters that the person is going to stay in that particular area that is indicated by the code of the last aspiration and the code of the SDS.
You may be taking the self-directed search in a career development or job retraining workshop within your company. Perhaps you're building a new career direction because your current job is phasing out. However, you could be looking for career focus for your next career move.
I firmly believe that every high school student in this country should be required to take some kind of career assessment examination. I think it's a terrible waste of resources to subject these young people to the kind of career searching that I went through after graduating from high school. I spent 5 years in pharmacy school, 3 years in law school, without really knowing what I was cut out to do. I made my decision from high school to go into pharmacy on the basis of seeing a pharmacist perform his duties in a local drugstore. I would pass by this drugstore and I would see this man in there performing, and I thought, well, maybe, you know, that's for me. He's in the air conditioning in the summertime and he's in the heat in the wintertime, and obviously he makes a lot of money because he wears a clean white jacket to work.
I am a graduating senior, and I use the SDS to focus my career goals, and it helped me to focus in on law.
After spending half my life, more than half my life, trying to find out where I fit, where I could make a living, where I could do the things that I enjoy doing best, I concluded that I need to do what made me feel good, the things that I enjoy doing, as opposed to doing what I had been formally trained to do or what I perceived people expected me to do.
Selecting a career is the most important financial and personal decision we will ever make. It determines our lifestyle. It's the places, the people, the things, the atmosphere, the environment that will surround us daily for years. It's our identity, our future image. It's where we will live, what we will wear, our friends, and even the kind of person we will marry. We can increase our career stability and satisfaction by working in a job that fits our personality. In selecting or refocusing your career, ask yourself these following 4 questions in this order. What does the world need more of? Do I have the skills to meet that need, or can I acquire them? Would I value doing that? Could I make a commitment to it? And lastly, can I make a living doing that? Whether selecting your first career, refocusing the present one, changing careers, or job hunting, information and insight into ourselves and also into the realities of the working environment are essential. You can make that important first step in taking charge of your career by taking the self-directed search. It should be available to you in your career placement and counseling center at your local college. If not, contact the publisher or Career Design Associates for more information.